to the February 26th, 2025 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'm Candace Pryor, Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer board nominated by the mayor and approved by City Council. First, we will hear from Planning Services, represented by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and will announce when 30 seconds are remaining. Public comment is available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board, then remote participants. To speak during a public hearing or during public comment remotely, press star 9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link. For phone access, call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of your phone number or by name if available for those accessing through the web link. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified person who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washington County Circuit Court on a timely basis. Roll call. Candace Pryor, I am here. Todd Grant.
I am here.
Dave DeVarty.
DeVarty here.
Patty Leskowski.
Patty Leskowski here.
Julie Weatherby.
Here.
Drew Denson.
Here.
Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dharma Ekman.
Here.
Christina Glusak. Here. We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda, I will note that the first item on our agenda, ZBA 25-0001 at 311 Westwood Avenue, has been withdrawn by the petitioner. So noting that change, are there any other comments on the agenda or questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Todd. Support? Thank you, Julie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to approval of minutes. We have minutes from our January 22nd, 2025 ZBA meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections on the minutes? Not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Drew. Support?
Support.
Thank you, Dave. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. First, we have petition ZBA 25-0002, 2915 Boardwalk Drive. John?
Good evening. I'm John Barrett, Zoning Coordinator for the City of Ann Arbor. The first petition this evening is ZBA 25-0002. The address is 2915 Boardwalk Drive. James Johnson, representing property owner, is seeking a 9-foot variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed use and non-residential and special purpose zoning district permanent signs. The applicant is replacing 2 existing non-conforming signs and installing 2 new signs at 29 feet in height. The maximum allowable height for a building is 20 feet when the building is not 45 feet in height. The property is zoned TC1 Transit Corridor. The subject property is located on the east side of Boardwalk Drive, north of East Eisenhower Parkway, in the Bryant-Pattengill East neighborhood. The building was constructed in 1992 and is approximately 14,650 square feet in size. Table 5.424-3 states that permanent signs require wall signs to be in the lowest 20 feet of the building when installed on a building less than 45 feet in total height. The subject building is approximately 25 feet in overall height. The applicant requests a variance to install these new signs at a maximum of 24 feet instead of the required 20 feet. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors. The first slide that you see the subject property highlighted in green on the east side of Boardwalk Drive, and that's the zoning map. And the next map shows the aerial map showing surrounding properties and neighborhoods and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property/subject building. Next slide is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant with their petition. And the next couple slides are the signs that are being proposed to be submitted. You see there's existing Granger signs out there now on the west elevation in the center side of your screen, and that's what's being proposed on the right side. And the same on the other elevation, just replacing the existing on the left with the one on the right. These are the photos that I took at the property inspection. You see the existing signs in their current location. And that's the other sign on the other face, on the south-facing wall. That's the business right next door. And that's both signs as they look from the corner of the building. That concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you, John. Questions? Todd?
Yeah, I have two questions. So, John, from the staff report and the photographs here, it looks like the applicant is proposing updating the signs and putting them in the exact same location that the current signs are in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess I missed it. It said the building is 25 feet in height and the sign's at 29 feet? No, that's not right. I mean, essentially, the signs are being placed near the top of the building.
The signs are going to be at 24 feet.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I do have one question, and in addressing the first criterion about practical difficulties peculiar to the property, the applicant says that the variance request would remedy, quote, "a discord in the intention of the ordinance," end of quote. Do you have any idea what the applicant is getting at by that?
On which question, sir?
So this is the standards for approval under A, the second line applicant response. The request would remedy, the request stems from a, quote, "a discord in the intention of the ordinance." I have no idea what that means. I thought you might know. I'll ask the applicant.
Have to ask the applicant.
Okay.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, you can come forward. Maybe you're remote.
No one's remote. No one told me they weren't going to be here, so.
I would move we table this until we have a representative to present the petition.
Yeah, I would second
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Yeah, maybe they're running late, and maybe they might show up here, and they could go maybe at
And
the
then
end of
we
the
could
meeting or
remove
something.
Yeah,
it
if
from
they're
the
here by
table.
the end, then,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe we could recall it or call it at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could take it off the table
Okay,
at the end.
we'll do that. All right, so we have a motion from Dave, support from Todd to table this until the end of the agenda to see if the applicant arrives late. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to petition ZBA 25-0003, 333 Mulholland Avenue. John?
Okay. Robin Edelstein, property owner, is requesting a variance of 144 square feet from Table 5.16-2 lot area and floor area requirements for accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. If granted, the variance will allow for an ADU of 744 square feet to become a habitable space for the existing detached garage. This property is zoned R2A, two-family dwelling district. The subject property is located on the east side of Mulholland Avenue between West Washington Street and West Liberty Street in the Old West Side Historic District. The home was built in 1910 and is approximately 1,050 square feet in size. The lot area is 7,100 square feet in size, which allows for a 600 square foot ADU. A residential building permit was applied for on January 29, 2004 for a new detached garage along with interior remodeling to the existing residence and a new mudroom. The permit stipulated that the second-story space on the second story of the garage was for a workout and office area. At the time, the ADU ordinance had not been adopted. The current owner of the property has applied for a building permit to construct a kitchenette in the second-story garage area. The second-story area is now finished and has a full bathroom as well. The combination of the finished space, bathroom, and future kitchenette, along with the owner's desire to accommodate guests, qualifies the space as an ADU. The variance is required as the 744 square foot second story exceeds the allowable size for an ADU for the lot area. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first map slide is the location map. You see the subject property highlighted in green. Like I said, it's on the east side of Mulholland, just north of West Liberty Street. Next slide shows the aerial map showing surrounding properties, existing conditions, and neighborhoods. And the next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property, and you see the subject detached garage in the back yard. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. And this is just another survey/site plan. This is the proposed kitchenette detail drawing of what the applicant intends to install inside the ADU. And that's a conceptual design of the kitchenette that was submitted by the applicant. These are photos that were submitted by the applicant showing the existing space in its current configuration. These are the photos I took on the inspection of the site. You see the front of the home as it faces Mulholland. This is going down the driveway, looking at the south facade and the subject garage in the background. This is looking at the detached garage, second story where the ADU would be above it. Looking at the rear of the house with my back towards the garage. And this is the area directly behind the garage in the backyard of the property. And that's looking directly at the back of the garage and the second floor of the ADU. That is all I have at this time, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Questions? Yeah, Dharma.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So first of all, is it the installation of the kitchen that's prompting the need to apply for an ADU?
The kitchen and the combination of everything, like I said, it's got a full bathroom now. It's got a conditioned space, habitable. The kitchen brings it up to a full living standards. And
Okay, so they can't install the kitchen without getting...
that's what triggers this on the building permit application.
And then my second question is, technically, if they wanted to have an ADU that conformed, they could rip this garage down and build a 600 square foot thing and then it would conform. That's the main difference is
Correct.
okay.
Yep, this lot will allow for a 600 square foot. And what's existing now is basically 744 square feet
Of a built structure.
of a built structure that was built in 2004.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for John? Dave?
Yeah, I saw one of the comments that was submitted raised the issue of short-term, being used for short-term rental. Would it be able to be used? We have an ordinance to regulate short-term rentals, and would this not be able to be used, or would it be able to be used as like an Airbnb short-term rental?
No, it could not. So ADUs can not be rented for short-term. They have to be a minimum of 30 days or longer.
Okay. So that was, I just wanted to ask that question because it was raised by somebody in an email.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
All right. Hi, I'm Robin. Robin Edelstein. I am the homeowner. I don't know if I have anything else to add beyond what John said, but I have owned the house since 2021, so I did not build the structure and the bathroom. So my idea was just to add a sink and a refrigerator. So that is my only plan for it, and I do not have plans to short-term rental it.
All right, Thank you. Questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you.
Thank
If
you.
there is anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, we will open the public hearing. If you are here in person with us, please come forward. If you're accessing remotely, please press *9 or use the raise hand button. I will note we did receive 2 emails regarding this petition. We have a letter of support from Dave Askins at 330 Mulholland Avenue. And we have a letter of opposition from Lori Gonzalez. All right, seeing no additional comments, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Or we're ready for a motion if there is no discussion. All right. Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 25-0003, 333 Mulholland Avenue. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 144 square feet from Table 5.16-2, lot area and floor area requirements for accessory dwelling units, ADUs. If granted, the variance will allow for an ADU of 744 square feet to become a habitable space for the existing detached garage. The construction of a new kitchen and ADU are to be completed per submitted plans.
Thank you, Todd. Dharma,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Dave,
DeVarty, yes.
Christina. Yes. Patty,
Yes.
Drew.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Todd.
To make it unanimous, Todd, yes.
All right, the request is granted. Moving on to, oh, I lost my agenda, hold on. Moving on to petition ZBA 25-0004, 2661 Essex Road. John?
Teresa Angelini, representing the property owners, is requesting a variance of 14 feet 4 inches from the 40-foot required rear yard setback in order to construct a 381 square foot addition to the rear of the existing non-conforming residence. The existing non-conforming screen porch is to be demolished and replaced with a new addition. The property is zoned R1B Single Family Residential District. The subject property is located on the east side of Essex Road between Independence Boulevard and Manchester Road in the Allen neighborhood just west of Burr Park and Allen Elementary School. The house was built in 1961 and is approximately 1,935 square feet in size. The home is on a non-conforming lot as the R1B district size, minimum size, lot size is 10,000 square feet, and the actual lot size is 8,929 square feet, according to the city assessor's records. The subject property is seeking a variance to remove a 253 square foot screen porch and build a 381 square foot new handicapped accessible bathroom. The proposed addition will also include a space for a first floor bedroom. The new addition will be constructed in the rear yard 25 feet 8 inches from the rear lot line. The proposed construction requires a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. If you turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the subject property and the zoning map highlighted in green at the center of your screen. The next slide is the location, or excuse me, the aerial map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. And you see the sunroom, screened porch room right back here. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application. And the next slide shows a site plan with the proposed footprint of the new addition that's being proposed and its relationship to the rear yard. Next slide shows the existing first floor plan. And the next slide shows a proposed foundation plan of the addition, which is back here. And the next slide shows the proposed first floor plan. And this is the roof plan. And these are some elevations. These are the existing elevation, and these are the proposed elevations on the bottom. You can see this one, like you would be looking in the backyard facing it, and then from the side. And the two up top are the existing. Next slides show the existing exterior elevations, and then the ones on the bottom show the proposed. These are the photos I took at the inspection of the site. You see the front of the house. This is walking to the back of the rear yard. You see the side of the screened-in porch. Looking directly at the porch from the rear yard towards the back of the house. Looking at the house from a side angle in relationship to the neighbors. Just another similar photo. And this is looking directly to the abutting properties. And that is all I have right now at this time. And we have a presentation by the architect as well.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Hello, I'm Teresa Angelini, partner and architect, Angelini Associates Architects. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll try to run through it as quickly as I can. Am I speaking right?
Sure, you're good.
Okay.
You just let me know when you want me to hit the next slide
Okay,
for you.
great. You could go ahead and start with the next one. So the house was built in 1961. It's a 2-story colonial with the attached garage and the attached screen porch. The owners purchased the home in 1994, and they've lived there for 30 years. They want to be able to age in place and have accessible living space on the first floor. Next slide. The existing conditions show the backyard, which John also had photos of. So the screen porch, we think it evolved over time, but the owners did not build it. It was there when they bought the house. We don't think it has footings. You can note that there is a wide side yard to the side there on the right-hand side between the existing garage and the house next door with a fence. Next slide so proposed project site is in the rear yard. And it's enclosed by the fence and natural screening. There's a 6-foot wide easement, a utility easement that runs along the rear of the lot, and the homeowners access the site through the screen porch. And the rear yard sits about 3.5 feet below the finished first floor. Next slide is the view from the corner of the backyard, and you can see the house next door. On the next, this is this slide. So the existing conditions plot map, the block is zoned R1D, which requires the 40-foot rear setback. And as John mentioned, it has minimum lot area of 0.229 acres. So this lot is 1,045 square feet smaller than the zone minimum lot size. And compared to the average of the neighboring lots, it's actually 2,788 square feet smaller than the average. And the length is about 20.43 feet shorter than the average lengths of the neighboring lots. On this slide, there's our calculations just showing how we get to the average. You can see the lot is trapezoidal. Oh, sorry, yeah. So, most of these lots are kind of divided, in half on the long, going along the streets. But then as these curve around, you get some oddly shaped ones. And this particular one is, the trapezoid with a point in the back. So the existing house extends over the setback now, but I guess we'll get to that. So next slide. This is unusual to me. I mean, it's an R1B island there in the midst of R1C. And the difference being that R1C has a 30-foot rear yard setback, which across the street, those blue sites would have 30-foot rear yard setback, while they have a 40-foot being in the R1B. I don't really see a difference between the lot sizes. On the next slide, so there's, our setback requirements. There are some different ways, that the city zoning ordinance has for calculating the rear yard in an instance like this. If it was interpreted that this was an irregular site, which I know that has to be weighed in the context of the city, but if it was, then the green line, so that you take that 10-foot line at the back, and then you go parallel to the front of the lot and cast it off, and so at 40 feet, that green line would mean that, we'd be just a little bit beyond it. The red line is where if you take the 40-foot setback parallel to the back of the lot line, then the existing house is, way over it at the corner, as well as the screen porch. On this next slide, so we just considered if this was an R1C lot, and if you did the irregular calculation there using that 10-foot line, then the red dashed line would be a 30-foot setback, and then we wouldn't be here asking for a variance. If we look at rear additions, precedents in the neighborhood, there are quite a few. And, with these houses built in the 60s, they were, probably starter homes for families. Families grow, as they get older. Often there are additions on the back of the house, and that's where this addition would like to be. So, and if they have deeper lots, then those didn't require variances. On this one, just, the existing screen porch John has talked about, it's, on the back there, and it's doesn't have footings. On this next slide, so the red line is where that 40-foot setback is taken from the back property line. And you can see, inside what's being proposed is a new ADA bathroom space that can be kind of flexed in terms of living space, bedroom space, as their needs change, and there's kind of storage to the side in terms of possible hoist or wheelchair. And one little detail, like if you look at the mudroom area here, just in terms of where there is an existing powder room on this, within this footprint, you have to go down a step, and then you go up a step into the bathroom and swing that door open and stand very close to the sink. So it's not a bathroom that could be remodeled in any way easily. I think it must have been a budget cut for the original builder to get the basement stairs in there real tightly and then put the second floor stairs on top of it. So that's what that is. Proposed addition, these were also in John's, but shows the existing compared to the new. And they really, appreciate sunlight and are trying to see the backyard, and they have backgrounds in landscape architecture, so trying to get some greenery and attachment to that. So with the standards of review, just the site is trapezoid. That's with the practical difficulties that are peculiar to the site. The site is trapezoid. The 40-foot rear yard setback already overlaps the footprint. The average of the rectangular lots nearby is like 90 feet by 140 feet. With this one being 85 feet by 105, it's 35 feet shorter. If this lot was deeper and rectangular, it wouldn't require a variance for a 14-foot 8 deep addition. And if it was across the street, as we talked about, it would be in a different situation also. It's the only site that's on the block that's shaped like this. There are a couple others that are irregular, but they're not the trapezoidal with the short leg and the long leg. And then this practical difficulties, it's more than inconvenience. This is a photo of the step down into that mudroom, and if you look closely, you can see the step up into the powder room and the door swing and how narrow the powder room is. So it just doesn't lend itself to any kind of reconfiguration for handicapped accessibility. On this next one, proposing this in the backyard, the yellow line or area is showing, the view from the neighbor's house. This does not obstruct anybody's view. It doesn't cast shade onto anybody's lot, and it doesn't interfere with anybody's or compromise their home or enjoyment. And they've had, there are 3 letters of support, I believe, from their neighbors, which you've probably seen also. So substantial justice being that that'd be flanked by, vegetation on both sides and just not obstructing the rights of the neighbors to light and views. And in terms of this is not a self-imposed hardship. The lot was unusual. The house, and screen porch already extend over. There's steep steps inside, and frankly, nobody chooses to have health issues that create challenges for living in their home, and it's not a self-imposed hardship. In terms of this being the minimum variance, primary suites are usually well over 380, 390 square feet. I mean, more like 450 to 600. So this is really a very basic bathroom with handicapped access and this planning ahead for wheelchair access, possible hoist access around a bed. And it allows the finished floor to align with the existing house. So in summary, the lot's trapezoidal in shape. It's shorter and wider than the adjacent lots. The house and the existing screen porch currently overlap a 40-foot rear setback. The screen enclosed porch built by the previous owner doesn't have footings and needs replacements. The owners need a first floor handicapped accessible full bath and bedroom. And the single-story addition in the area of the current screened enclosed porch will have no detrimental effect on the neighboring properties. And granting a variance allows these homeowners to remain in the home in the same community where they've lived for 30 years. So we are requesting the variance from the 14 feet 4 from the 40-foot minimum rear yard setback to build this single-story structure for a first-floor handicap bathroom and first-floor bedroom, and the resulting setback then is 25.8, with it being 40 minus 14.4. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions for the applicant? All right, no questions. Thank you. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sue Gott, and I'm with my husband, Charlie, and this is our home. So I was thinking about coming tonight and wanted to share that actually a little bit about us. My dad grew up on Day Street 100 years ago and was an Ann Arbor kid and went to Michigan, met my mom here. They lived in Pittsfield Village, which was a great early neighborhood for them, and then moved to Buckingham, where I was born. So I went to Pattongill, Tappan, Huron. And our house is 2 blocks away from where I grew up, and I lived for a short time on Canterbury, which is about 6 blocks. So I think the point we wanted to make tonight is that, we love living in this neighborhood. Charlie has Parkinson's disease, and his mobility is declining. And I can imagine a day where it's just going to be too hard to get up the stairs. And it was a fantastic house for raising kids, but it just wasn't designed anticipating later life needs. And we hope that, the purpose of coming to you is to understand the conundrum of parcels that limit some very minor adjustments to help maintain, the ability to stay in one's home as long as one is able. So we just wanted to kind of add that additional information for clarity. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone additional who would like to speak on this petition? Or anyone accessing the meeting remotely? If so, please press *9 or use the raise hand button. All right, I will note we did receive, I believe, 4 letters of support on this petition. We have a letter of support from Scott Greenwood and Margaret Mansfield. At 2666 Essex Road, we have a letter of support from Gina and Peter Dahlem at 2648 Manchester Road. A letter of support from Debbie and Gary Vandermaid. And a letter of support from Sean and Mark Ricoy at 2705 Colony Road.
And I will add that I also received a phone call and a letter of support, or an email, or, excuse me, a voicemail of support. I believe her name, I hope I'm getting it right, is Barbara Murray. So she called as well and left me a message.
All right, with that, the public hearing is closed and we are in discussion. Dave?
I'll be supporting this. I think there is a practical difficulty presented both by the shape of the lot and the size of the lot is in relation to the zoning code, which make it a non-conforming lot. And I think that both of those conditions present a significant practical difficulty for doing anything in this back space. I also believe that the strong support of the neighbors speaks to the substantial justice being done if we consider this, if we approve this zoning variance. And I would say that it does strike me that the proximity of the R1C zoning district immediately proximate to this calls out for justice being done in granting the zoning request as well.
Todd?
I would agree with everything that Dave said. I would also add that making homes livable on a single story is something that's not often done in this country, that is important not just for people as the age, but people of any age can have difficulty being mobile, even somebody who's athletic and suddenly breaks a leg and they need to get around for several weeks or several months for healing. So I look at the construction of a handicap bathroom on our first floor is a big plus. I'll be voting in favor of this.
Any other discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 25-0004, 2661 Essex Road. In accordance with established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 14 feet 4 inches from Table 5.17-1, single-family residential districts. A 40-foot rear yard setback is required in the R1B single-family residential district. The variance will allow construction of a new 390-square-foot addition to the rear of the existing non-conforming residence. The existing non-conforming screened porch will be demolished and replaced with the new addition. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
With the motion, do I have support? Thank you, Patty. Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Todd?
Yes.
Dharma?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 25-0005, 617 Detroit Street. John?
Edward Phillips, representing the property owner, is seeking... Excuse me. Edward Phillips, representing the property owner, is seeking a 3-foot 8-inch variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special-purpose zoning district permanent signs. The applicant is proposing to install a 29-square-foot wall sign at 23 feet 8 inches in height. The maximum allowable height for the building is 20 feet. The property is zoned C2B Business Service District. The subject property is located on the west side of Detroit Street between Beek Street and East Kingsley Street. The property is in the Carytown neighborhood. According to the city assessor's records, the building was erected in 1952. The total square footage of the combined two buildings on this property is 10,995 square feet. Table 5.24-3 requires wall signs to be in the lowest 20 feet of the building when installed in a building less than 45 feet in total height. The subject building is approximately 25 feet in overall height. The applicant requests a variance to install a wall sign at a maximum height of 23 feet, 8 inches instead of the required 20 feet. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the subject parcel is highlighted in green at the center of your screen on the zoning map. And the next slide is the aerial map showing surrounding properties, existing conditions, and surrounding neighborhoods. Next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property, and the proposed sign is to be on this elevation where I'm putting my cursor right now. And the next slide is the conceptual design showing the requested sign. You see the bottom of it will be at 21 feet 2 inches, and the top will be at 23 feet 8 inches, and the overall height of the building is 25. And these are some drawings or photos that were submitted by the applicant. You see where they're proposing to put this symbiosis sign, and up here up top, number 1 right there as well. And just like I pointed out a few minutes ago. These are the pictures of the site when we went and performed our inspection, and this is the elevation where the proposed sign is to be. And this is looking down the side of the building, looking directly down towards, I believe that's Broadway Street, looking down, and then looking at the other elevation of the building, and this is where the face of that sign is going to be on the left side of that building. And some existing tenants and other spaces in the building. And that is pretty much it. That's all I have at this time. Take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Questions for John? Dharma?
Are you able to point on this building to where the sign could be placed to be conforming, or just it can't be? Like, is the 20-foot line below the windows? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, if this was 21 feet 2, it's probably right around the windows, but I think this sign was probably too large to squeeze into that area.
Okay.
If they were to bring it down to the top of the windows,
Uh-huh.
the applicant could speak
Okay.
better, but maybe it'd be a 6-inch variance instead of
Right.
as much, but it would be squeezing it right down on top of those windows.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for John? Dave?
So when you look at the total building height of the building, is that taken because there's a difference, Beeks is significantly lower than Detroit.
Yep.
So there's a significant difference in height. And is that from the Beek side of the building where that parking lot is, or what's the?
So we've looked at it on different elevations, and it doesn't exceed 45 feet anywhere, that building. So it would have to be 20 feet either way. If that makes sense. Like, even on Beek's side, it's not 45 feet in height, and then on the other side, it's probably 20. So
Right.
taking into, we looked around at all 3 elevations, and all 3 would require it to be 20 feet max. Even though, say, the other side is, say it's 40, it's still shorter than 45, so it would have to be at 20 as well.
Gotcha. So, question, if they, in this zoning district, could they put another floor on top of this building?
In this zoning district, C2B, I believe they could. I think the maximum height would be 50, but I'm not sure they're going to put a floor on for a sign.
Well, they
But
could.
it's a possibility in the future,
It creates
yes,
new marketable space
Yeah.
that they could rent. So maybe they would do it for that. Thank you very much.
Todd?
I'll wait till John's finished looking.
55 feet or 4 stories.
Well, John?
Yes, sir.
So I often walk downtown from and to downtown from my home in Northeast Ann Arbor. I've passed by this location a number of times. The building was built in '52, but the facade and all this is recent construction, correct? I mean, we're not looking at a facade from 1952.
No, I don't believe so.
When was the facade?
Modernized.
And was it
Ooh.
done by the current owners?
I believe this used to be an old auto repair business.
Yeah, maybe years of.
So I think it's probably been remodeled or restored in the last 15 to 20 years, I would say.
Yeah, and I remember see the law firm sign there, but there was some, my memory is somewhere in the last 10 years this was redone, so,
Yeah.
but I'll ask the applicant.
Didn't they, I think it used to be a European auto repair shop. I think I used to see like MGs and Triumphs sitting out there. Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, something. Yep.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Scott McCauley. I'm with Phillips Sign and Lighting, representing Symbiosis. And Dan here is with Symbiosis.
Yeah, my name's Dan Cook, and I'm representing Symbiosis.
John, thank you for the presentation. It's very helpful. As John stated, we're requesting a very modest variance here on this wall sign. To get to that 20-foot mark, it's hard to tell in that photo there, but there are some protruding trim pieces above those windows as well, so it's a varying level of facade there above those windows. It would shrink that size of that sign down pretty significantly and be pretty illegible to get within that shape, that size. One thing, I do have some photos here, but very recently, within the last couple of years, and I know the ordinance has recently changed, but there have been several other businesses that were within that sign ban location. And so in this scenario, there was a precedent at least that there have been signs there. So we're just requesting a 3-foot 8-inch variance there, especially with the change in elevation of that building. So, ultimately that location, that elevation is the best exposure for the business as far as traffic. And that's really the main reason why we're proposing it for that location as well. So.
Yeah, the couple things that I can add is we're a software engineering firm that moved there in a little under a year ago. We've got 14 folks, and we've grown from about 5 when we moved there to 14. And then the reason we do want it to be there is for like a recruiting. That's a big passageway between North Campus and South Campus. And then I remember from when I was a student and from being around here, the human element building that sign, that's a very visible spot on the bridge. And that's kind of our motivation for putting the signage there for, future recruiting as we grow. And we're planning on hiring about 15 more engineers over the course of the next year as well, so.
All right, is this your first location then?
Yeah, we were out of my garage until April of last year, so.
The reason
yeah.
why I ask, I was just wondering if there's a standard for signage for this company, but it sounds like, no, this is
No.
a fresh design.
Yep.
New application, and then,
Yep.
okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Questions, Dave?
Are you the owner of the building or just a tenant?
Just the tenant.
Todd?
So the question I asked earlier, may have heard, this has gone through a number of changes. I've been in Ann Arbor since '77. When was this facade constructed and the windows constructed?
Yeah, I want to say it was about 15 years ago. Funny enough, I actually was with a different company, a tenant in the basement when Human Element was above, and it definitely hasn't been in that time, which is about 7 years at this point. So it's prior to that, and then it looks around 15 years.
So you're a tenant and you're the sign person. Neither of you is the owner of the building.
Nope.
Who can give a history on the construction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is, oh, did you want to say something?
I was just going to speak on, about the previous signs, and so those were probably installed prior to 2019. This is a provision of the 2019 ordinance, and for about the last 4.5 years, we didn't have any variances coming to us, and now all of a sudden we have 1 or 2 a month, it seems like, for this provision of this 20-foot in height. So it's, for some reason, it's starting to pop up, and but that's why, speaking about previously, we didn't have this kind of a regulation about the height requirement.
If there is anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, the public hearing is now open, so please come forward, sign in, state your name for the record, or press star 9, use the raise hand button if accessing remotely. I do not believe we received any communications on this petition, so. All right, seeing none, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Todd?
I'm going to vote no on this. Every business wants as big a sign as they can possibly get. I would be surprised if a software company is recruiting by people driving to downtown on Beeks Road. That's not how software companies grow. And I understand every business wants a big sign, but the burden is on the applicant to show why they couldn't have a sign with smaller letters or a little lower in the building. And they're trying to get as much as they can get, I get it. But they're in violation of the zoning ordinance, and I'm not going to vote in favor of it. I'm voting no.
Dharma?
I was hoping, John, could you show the other signs in context again? I thought you had a picture where it showed some of the other businesses in this building.
Oh.
And where is this, like, for example, this sign in relation, is the facade on that, like,
Yeah,
around the
the
corner?
facade that's in, the subject facade is, if you were, where I'm standing, if you
Yeah.
were to look to your left, and
Okay.
this building is like an L shaped on this side.
Okay.
And so you have Hurwitz Law Firm going perpendicular to Beeks, and then it comes out to your left, and then it's on this facade. So it'd kind of be like, right here, like where you and I are standing right here, would be right there.
Okay.
So,
I feel like,
oh, sorry.
thank you. I feel like I'm just inclined to support this, primarily because it does seem like there's room for them to get closer to conforming at the least. I understand that the ordinance has changed, but I also think that it changed for good reason. And it also appears that the other businesses, well, at least this one, within here is conforming. So I guess I'm just not really seeing a compelling reason to allow this particular variance.
Just to echo that sentiment, it's difficult to say because it's hard to tell from the elevation exactly where the 20-foot marker is. I suspect with the windows and
Go
the
back to it.
kind of decorative element above it, they probably do need some sort of variance. I don't know that they could fit it all beneath that 20-foot mark, but I'm not sure that what they've presented tonight is the minimum necessary, so. Todd?
Yeah, I would just say that the Hurwitz Law Firm is getting by fine with a sign that's way below 20 feet. And they've not demonstrated anything why they're a special type of business that needs a much bigger sign high up. And they're confining the argument to this facade of the building only, but it runs along, of course, both Detroit and Beek Street. So they're not really showing a hardship. They just want a big sign, and that's not enough.
Oh,
I think that they're on the top of the building, like the law firm is on the bottom of the building. So in terms of like placement, it does make sense that they would want a sign where their floor resides.
Dave?
Where's, John, the primary entrance for this business? It's not under that sign, right? It looks like it could be on Detroit Street.
I'm not
Is the
sure.
primary entrance coming off of Detroit Street?
Yeah, it's on the left.
Okay, so, and
it's
I'm
over.
just wondering if they put
I
a
think it's-
sign over their primary entrance, it wouldn't have that big visibility that they clearly want, but it would mark where people enter the building, and it would be under the 20 feet on that side, right?
I think it's, their entrance, I think, is right here.
Correct. Yeah, the entrance is there, and it does have graphics on the main door for the business already.
But I'm just saying that they could put the sign over there and be within 20 feet of the surface there, right?
If they were to put it right here where my cursor is, yes.
Yeah, so I see no need for the variance, because they could accommodate a sign really immediately where their entrance is and comply with the ordinance.
Are we able to still speak on that? No. Okay.
nope, sorry, we're in discussion. Drew?
Do we know that it would be in compliance there? I mean, based on the elevation of, that they would,
Over here?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be,
That would be-
it wouldn't be 20, it wouldn't be over 20 feet at that side. It's because, well, I mean, it's,
does it seem like, is it only this front part that would put it out of variance? I mean, even if you put it along the other wall?
right, I mean,
Okay.
it's because of the height of this.
The windows?
Right here, and then when you go over there as well, if they were to put it here, I mean, it'd have to be 20 feet over here. You couldn't put it up here either.
And they can't have two locations for signage, they have to choose.
They can have, they get a certain square footage based on the building frontage.
Right.
And so I'm sure they could manage it where they could get two signs on this for this business.
So just to address an earlier comment, I think the architectural facade condition is different for the law firm because it's just a different banding on that side. And it makes sense as a member also pointed out that they're on the first floor. So I think that makes sense. It would look peculiar if it was raised above that bottom band. I do think that there's room, if you could navigate back to the facade that they're proposing, John. Again, the facade element there, you can see how it protrudes a little bit over the window opening. So maybe the variance, if they were to come back and lower it, maybe there would still be a variance on the table but it just wouldn't be as much as what is being proposed on the table right now. But I do see how that limits their ability to land the sign. And I do feel like it's going to create the most impact and I'm supporting businesses, especially a first-time business in the area that I could see why coming over the bridge, that makes very good sense to have the sign in that plane above those two windows. So I wish there was a little bit more backup just to show that if they slid it down, how it would conflict with the existing facade element. But again, it seems like it would still be in the neighborhood of having a variance.
Yeah, if you look at these windows, there's these, I think you call them eyebrows.
Sure.
There's like these bricks
Yeah.
that would create a little bit
Oh,
of
and
a,
yeah, there's like two elements there.
yeah. And then there's another one right above it right here. So
Yeah,
there's some.
thanks for pointing that out.
There's some articulation on that
There's
elevation.
articulation, it's a good word.
Yeah. Articulation and eyebrows.
Yes.
And I'm
Julie.
not even an architect.
Yeah, I'm just looking, so I'm looking at the previous sign, the human element one, so looks like they started in 2016, and then it was there through 2022. And it was right in that spot, in that space. And it seems actually like a pretty reasonable spot and space for it. I mean, there's like a little square where you can put a
There's a
sign.
band.
And
Yeah.
there's architectural details will go with, random architectural details that go, and I don't see where you could put that sign in a different spot on that facade, because it wouldn't make sense to have it on a different spot on that facade. I guess we could say, well, they could put it on a different facade, but in this case, like, I think that seems like the one place you could put this sign, unless you just did a little square in between the windows, because there's a very obvious space on the building where a sign could go. Oh, and that seems like it.
Patty?
Could you just bring up the picture with the sign again?
Yeah.
We can look at it, please. Thank you.
Dave, did you have?
I'd like to, I'm going to vote against this. I see two options. One is if they insist on this facade being where they want the sign as opposed to where you would enter their office space off of Detroit Street. They could comply with the ordinance by putting it where the entrance is to their office space off Detroit Street. But they could also, you've got the decorative grasses there that you see that are really tall, that obscure another place, that gray space, that could also have the sign and be in compliance with the ordinance. So I see if they want to be on this facade, change the landscaping, put it on this facade in compliance with the ordinance, or you could be in compliance and put it where the entrance to your location is. I don't see any need or difficulty or justice, any need for, or that it's the minimum necessary to meet their needs for signage. I just don't see them meeting any of our, albeit I don't like the fact that we continually get these criteria for signs. I think we need new criteria for sign approvals, but I don't see that they meet any of these criteria and that it is not the minimum necessary, and there are other options, so I will be voting against it.
Dharma.
I appreciate the conversation that we've had here because I think I am shifting my mind because now I can see elements of this building that I couldn't see before that does look like it kind of dictates where this should go. So I think it's reasonable.
I'm having much the same reaction. I saw the eyebrows above the windows, but I didn't see that other band there until Christina pointed it out, so.
Candace, do we know that the sign that they're proposing would be appropriate size for the frontage of the building?
I assume that's correct, right? They're within their allowed sign
Right, I
area,
guess
it's
that-
just the
yes,
height
that's my only
that's.
question.
That's correct. They meet the square
The only
footage
variance
allowance.
is the height of the sign, it's
Yep.
not the size of the sign.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Are we ready for a motion?
I could make a motion.
Thank you, Dave.
ZBA 25-0005, 617 Detroit Street. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a variance of 3 feet 8 inches to allow a wall sign to be installed at a height of 23 feet 8 inches. Table 5.24-3, table, I guess that's in there twice. Other mixed-use and non-residential and special-purpose zoning district permanent signs require a maximum height of 20 feet for wall signs on buildings less than 45 feet in height. The signs are to be installed per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Dave. Do you have support?
Supported.
Thank you, Patty. Todd?
No.
Dharma?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, no.
Christina?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Drew?
Yes.
I also vote yes, the request is granted. All right, moving on. We are at the end of our public hearing, so we're now back to ZBA 25-0002, 2915 Boardwalk Drive, which we tabled earlier. Seeing no one new, has anyone joined online? All right, with that, I guess we have two options. We can vote to deny it since no one's here, or we can vote to postpone it to a future meeting.
Can we
and
just leave it
consider
on the
then.
table and have to remove it from the table at a future meeting?
I think we have to postpone it to a future meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Date unknown at this time.
Well, I
March
would move to
26th.
postpone it a month.
I support that.
If the applicant doesn't come back next month, then,
March 26th.
Okay,
Julie
so,
has her hand up.
yes, Julie.
Has
Is
a
it
finger up.
required that the person is here? Like,
I
they almost
believe
always
it's
are, but-
required that someone is here to represent the project, either an owner, applicant, or someone.
It's in their best interest.
I know it's in their best interest, but I don't,
I think it says in our bylaws
I- yeah, they have to be
someone
present.
is required
Okay.
to be in attendance.
Plus, it's a show of respect for the board that they appear at least by Zoom.
There's no one via Zoom for this?
We don't get paid for this.
You glory.
All right, so Todd made a motion that we postpone this
I support it.
to the March
26th.
26th meeting. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That petition has been postponed. Now, moving on, we have no unfinished business, new business, reports from council. Dharma?
Yes, I think this group will be very happy to hear that we have our first reading of the ordinance change regarding changes to non-conforming structures at our upcoming council meeting this coming week. When is it? March 3rd? March 3rd. And that will be the first reading, so it usually is a couple meetings until the second reading. Will this only be one meeting? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll be a second reading. I think it's 30 days later. And then it'll take effect approximately 10 to 14 days after that if it's approved at both readings. So I'm anticipating sometime in mid-April.
Great. So I look forward to talking about this at the table, considering all of the things that we have considered here. And so anyway, it's exciting to finally see it come forward. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to communications. I believe we have addressed all of the written communications that we received. Public comment. If there's anyone here who would like to address the ZBA, now's your chance. Please come forward, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. If there's anyone accessing remotely, you can press *9 or use the raise hand button. You can have 3 minutes as well. No takers, all right.
Can I do a communication?
Yes, please do, Dave.
I'm sorry to say that, once again, our March ZBA meeting will be conflicting with the Ann Arbor Film Festival, which will be in its 63rd year, the longest-running independent experimental film festival in the world, which starts on Tuesday, March 25th, and runs through Sunday, March 30th. I will still be here at this table for for the ZBA meeting on March 26th, despite the fact that I would rather be at the film festival.
Thanks, Dave. Any other comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion from Julie. Support? Support from Patty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Also, I'll bring tickets for all the members here for the rest of the film festival.